Okay, hello everyone. I'm Ian White. I'm Professor of Environmental Planning and welcome to the orientation webinar for 2020 at the University of Waikato. We've got about 15 minutes today, so what I'm going to run through is what is environmental planning to get an idea of whether it's the kind of program which could be for you. I'm going to link to how it's structured and some of the careers and research we're doing as well. So it'll take about 15 minutes. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat box and we'll pick them up at the end. Okay. So we'll start with this. Basically, we've made a lot of mistakes in how we allocate land and resources and how we decide who gets what, why and when. And that's essentially what environmental planning tries to influence. So we've got a climate crisis. It's particularly pronounced in New Zealand because we've got quite a long coastline. A lot of our people live by the coast, and there's a lot of risk that will escalate in the future. So how do we deal with that? If you look at the graph on the top left, it gives you an idea of the time and some of the issues that we're having to deal with. So thinking about your lifespan, that red mark is the range of future possibilities of future climates. We know it's increasing, but we don't know how bad it's going to get because it depends what we do in the interim. And that's about the use of land and resources too, and the laws that we have in case. So planning is centrally concerned with climate change and the climate crisis, about how we transition our economy and how we live to a different state. So this is a video of some research we're doing. This is the Bay of Plenty, and this gives you an idea of some of the historical decisions we've got to make better. So this is the coastline. It's drone footage from some research. We're looking at shoreline retreat. And you look at those houses, and they really shouldn't be there. And they're not going to be there in about 10, 15, 20 years. But we're also building a lot of houses at the same time. So one of the things we have to think about is what's fair. When do we retreat from the coast, as well as how we do it? And do we compensate? Do we do land swaps? So there's a whole lot of questions we just haven't resolved in New Zealand. And that's one of the things that we're looking at Waikato, one of our research areas. At the same time, we've got a housing crisis. So we've got pretty much the most unaffordable housing in the entire world. And that means that your generation have been really not represented in decision making. It's not fair. And it shouldn't be that way. And it's partly around the financialization of housing. Now it's become an asset class, but it's also about the volume and the numbers and the types of houses we build too. So that's another thing that planners do. We work out the kinds of houses we need where, the different demographics and family structures, and we try and meet those. So you've got a housing crisis as well as a climate crisis. And there's other issues around transport that we deal with, around social justice, indigenous land rights, water rights, all those issues that relate to the use of land and resources. That's what we do. So this program will basically give you the skills to navigate that. And New Zealand's also growing quite rapidly. So this is just the example of Auckland. So if you look at the red box, that's going to be the extra dwellings. So by 2018 to 2048, so about 30 years, this is the predicted amount of houses. And you do that by a number of ways, by population growth, but also changes in household formation. You work out what kinds of houses you need where, and then you link it up to other aspects like transport too. So in simple terms, one in three homes that exist in 30 years haven't been built. So if we can influence them to be more sustainable or to link to public transport better, we can actually make quite a big influence on the sustainability of New Zealand. We can make things like trains more viable. One of the reasons why we don't have trains in New Zealand, or many trains, is because we've got too sprawled our urban form. And there's not enough people living within a footprint of walking distance to the train station, so it doesn't pay for itself economically. But if we grow in the right way, we also mean that public transport is viable. So this is some of the broad context that you will learn if you do an environmental planning degree. So the program at Waikato is it's very interdisciplinary. A good way to think about it is if you call it geography or politics or you're actually concerned with trying to make things better, if you're looking for something which gives you a bit of value or worth, it's a good subject for you because we do influence practice. We don't just talk about things, we do change policies and we make new laws and we try and improve the quality of life of people not even born yet. So every park you enjoy, every public space you enjoy has been fought over, perhaps even before you were born, by a planner. And so one of the things we do is create a lot of intergenerational equity as well. So if you're interested in those broad subject areas, that's what planning essentially links to. And it provides you with the skills and resources in order to be a planner. If you're thinking whether it's for you, if you're interested in things like SimCity or those city building programs, or even you've got a strong sense of social justice and you want to improve things, this could be the kind of degree program for you. So in simple terms, we have a lot of land, we have a lot of resources, we have impacts on air, on water quality, we've got to represent biodiversity and wildlife and things that don't vote, and someone's going to make those calls around what we should do. And that's the skills we'll give you. So it's like, how and where should cities grow? How do we balance that with the needs of transport and business and growth? And how do we grow in a more sustainable way? We've seen at the moment there's a lot of furore about Auckland's water resources, which is just ridiculous, really. There's no reason why anyone in New Zealand should have any water resources whatsoever. It's completely mismanagement, but we'll get to that on the course. About thinking about demand side issues, about how we can use less water, more technological change, more recycling of water, and reducing our demand rather than just increasing the supply. So someone's got to make those decisions, and someone's got to write the laws and the policy that is followed by developers, and that's us, that's planners. So we do a Bachelor of Environmental Planning, a BP. This is a professional degree, so it's similar to accountancy or law or even veterinary sciences. If you do this degree, you become a planner. It's not a generic degree where you're not quite sure where you end up. It's accredited by the New Zealand Planning Institute, and there's only a handful of places around New Zealand where that's the case. So you can't actually get employment as a planner unless you do an accredited degree, which is what we do here. And we provide the skills for a career in environmental planning. There's no additional subject requirements, so anybody can do it and enter at this stage. And it is a career. So just to give you an example, even in this times of uncertainty, we're still getting employers wanting our students to start with them. So we've had 100% employment rate, which I don't think anyone else in the entire university could say. So if you do this degree, you will get a career in this field because we don't have enough planners in New Zealand. We're a growing country. We've got huge demands on our resources. And even in times of austerity, where we're looking at post-COVID response, we've got an infrastructure-led response, which means that this is a career which is actually in more demand even right now than it was last year. So these are real careers. So a lot of the times when you see this kind of slide, it will just be quite generic, but I can tell you the names of people who work in these areas because this is what we do. We have 100% employment rate for the last 3 or 4 years. And if you let us know the kinds of fields and the kind of area which you're most interested in, we can direct you towards that pathway. So it could be around strategic planning. So looking at future growth, look at the golden triangle of Hamilton, Auckland, and Tauranga and how we should grow and how do we put train lines down. There's also a lot of iwi management and looking at the use of water resources and those kind of aspects where we have to restore some of our native wetland and restoration. We also work with multinational consultancies. So the other good thing about a planner is it's a trade. So if you get a planning degree from Waikato, you can practice as a planner in London, in Hong Kong and Melbourne. And every year we send graduates abroad to become, for a career overseas, because it's the New Zealand Planning Institute accreditation is recognized all around the world. Okay, so it's with honours. It's designed with industry and the professions. So we have close relationships with practitioners, employers. There's a good chance your employer will have lectured you at some point during the course. And we have 3 flexible streams, which I'll talk to you a little bit about later. That's the structure of our program. So the blue bits are the core that we have to teach, and the orange bits are the stream where you've got the ability to select areas where you're most interested in order to shape your career profile. So we also offer a minor. So for those of you who are interested but are maybe not sure, if you do these papers, it allows you the flexibility to say you've got a minor in environmental planning, which is pretty good for people who are interested in science but want to know more about how to exert influence and get change in real life, for example. But you couldn't actually get a degree as a planner unless you have the full accredited degree. So the streams we have at the moment, we have 3 streams. The science one is for, I should say this so that everybody gets the core skills to work anywhere in any field. This just gives you a chance to shape your degree in the area where you're most comfortable or where you actually want more in-depth knowledge. So if you're interested in biology or soil or oceans, or coast, you can do more science papers, and that leads you to a good career with, say, the regional council or land care or some of those science areas where you actually need to have a good understanding of some of the basics in order to then apply that to our laws and regulation. The second stream is society. So we do a little bit more economics, a bit more politics, a bit more public policy, and this is around people who want to exert influence. So we've got to write the laws on water quality. We've got to understand how to balance some of the issues with farming and agricultural practices. And this is around navigating those different views about how to get the best outcomes for people. Our third stream is the only stream of this nature in New Zealand. It's our Te Tao stream, which is basically a strong more in indigenous specialism. There's a big rise in co-management and shared services and so on. And to understand those issues more deeply, we work with the Faculty of Maori and Indigenous Studies in order to give you more in-depth knowledge in that area. So you can mix and match and you can pick between them, but the streams just basically allow you to shape your degree in a flexible way. So if you are interested, this sounds like something that you might be interested in doing. There's 2 main courses to just jot down and make a note of, and it's our main courses in semester A and semester B. So our introduction to environmental planning is where you start to get the basics and the foundation, and our future cities are where you start to look at some of the impacts that we're going to have to manage and deal with. So even if you're unsure whether this is for you, if you do these 2 courses in the first year, it allows you the flexibility to switch to a BEP degree at the end of year 1, because you've got the foundation done. So we always recommend people do those, even if you're not entirely sure whether BEP is degree, but we do tend to have more people changing after the first year as they try it out and they realize that this is actually what I've been looking for. It's pretty uncertain environment out there at the moment to be studying, and we recognize that. There's some restructuring going on with our society, which I think shifts to a 4-day week. We've got more people working from home. There's some big issues that we're having to deal with. And some sectors are struggling for investment, but planning isn't one of them. And it's partly because the government has decided that they're going to have an infrastructure-led stimulus and renewal. And so we need much more planners than we've got, because someone's going to make decisions about those. And so if you are looking for a career, and it is a real career, then and with a good chance of your investment in your education paying off, this is a really good bet, because we know you will be working in this area at the end, more likely than perhaps many other courses. And it also is a chance to do things for the better. So some of you may have caught this story. So if you haven't, just Google it. So it's a 20-minute city in Hamilton, and it's a story I wrote about a month ago about how we need to use the infrastructure, being able to change how we live and how we move around. And now this is a live issue that we're researching at Waikato, is that the way that planning works in the past doesn't have to be how it does at the moment. And we can shape our cities so we have to travel less, so we can adapt to climate change. We're actually more of a community and well-being angle too. So we're getting involved in some of the national debates about what planning could and should be. So this is the kind of debates we'd hope you'd be involved in too. So just to finish off, that's my name and my email at the top. Dr. Sylvia Sarah Norman is the program convener. She's also available to answer questions. So you can look at subjects online, and you can Google our Facebook page and have a look there. But also, if there's any questions, feel free to ask them now in the webinar chat, and I'll hang around and deal with them. But also feel free to send me an email, and hopefully we'll see you in one of our classes soon. Okay, kia ora, thank you very much.